Well, a good day to you. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. It is your show getting underway here in the middle of the week. Another week passing us by rather quickly. It seems that way to me anyway. And we have a topic that we're going to present to you today, and we are pretty certain it will resonate with you because we all, most of us anyway, have families, siblings, parents, kids, and sometimes there is a difficult family member or more than one. And why that is, we don't know. You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. And so we are stuck with what we get, and we should try to make the best of it all the time. I'm Jerry Usher, along with Debbie Georgiani. And Debbie, this touches on everybody's lives, I have to believe.
Oh, yeah. That just cracks me up when we're stuck with what we get. Yeah, that's true. We are.
We are.
Yeah. But, it's a chance to grow in holiness. And so let's talk about it. Dealing with difficult family members. You can choose to deal with them in a certain way with your normal personality, which may or may not work. Or you can look at it from a different perspective and see if you can grow in virtue, grow in holiness, really learn a different angle of things, because everybody sees things just a little differently when it comes to relationships. So dealing with difficult family members, yes, we are stuck with them, but maybe God planted them on purpose to let us grow and get strong and get closer to God and really see God in the most difficult situations with family members. So if you are working with a difficult family member, here's how it's going to work. You're going to call in, speak to Matt Kabinski. Here's the number, 833-288-3986. And you probably don't want to share the name of that difficult family member or the situation. And maybe you don't even want to give your real name at this point because your family members may be listening, right? So how about your confirmation name, or just mention, the family member by, like, it's my sister or my daughter or anything, and it's fine. You don't have to out them. Okay, let's just talk in general terms of situations, and so that we could all learn and grow together, and we can start practicing these things in our families right away as soon as we're done with this brief hour. So we need to hear about your difficult family member situations in order for us to grow. 833-288-3986.
Yeah, you can almost view this as kind of a zeroing in on our All About Relationship show, but we're zeroing in on the family today. And so if you do have a situation where maybe things are not quite the way you would want them to be with a family member, as Debbie said, don't have to give a lot of details or names or anything like that, but maybe we can talk it through together, and you can come away with some tools and resources to maybe help make that relationship better. 833-288-3986. You'd think family would be on the same page, kind of in one accord, that kind of stuff. But the unfortunate reality of it is, within our families, there are sometimes relationships that are strained. And we want to talk about that today with you. Lines are starting to fill up right now. 833-288-3986. And
after the show, if you just want to go on to the internet and just type in dealing with difficult family members. A lot of therapists and psychologists and counselors and coaches have weighed in and they're giving wonderful tips and tools on how to work on those relationships immediately. One of the things they kind of all say, Jerry, is this idea of having boundaries. See, with family members, sometimes family members feel that it is okay for them to say things. They don't have to have a filter. They can intrude on situations. They're not asked to give an opinion, but they feel like they're entitled, that they should be able to give an opinion because they're the brother or the sister or the mom or the dad or the kids. And those boundaries can get really blurred, and they can be really destructive if people just overstep their if they just intrude when they're not invited, especially when it's in a husband and wife situation. So I have seen it in coaching where a sister wants to say something to her brother, but her brother's married, okay? And her brother has a wife. And she's like, well, no, it's my brother. We grew up together. We played, kickball together. I can say whatever I want to my brother. But no, he's married now and he's joined with his wife. And so unless you're invited into that relationship somehow or asked, for your opinion or your suggestions, you really have to kind of step back and just observe until you are welcome. Wouldn't you say that's a safe way to maintain boundaries?
Oh, yeah. Boundaries are so very important. Speaking as one who doesn't have a lot of boundaries myself, I never really have, I think they would be very, very important. And yes, I agree with you on that. You got to be very, very sensitive to relationships and maybe, like you said, not enter into the situation until you are invited in, as you said. So I agree with you completely. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is, and here's a practical skill right away, you always ask for permission. So if I wanted to give Jerry a suggestion, I would say, Jerry, are you open to a suggestion? And if Jerry says, no, not right now, Deb, then I have to respect that and not get offended, right? But if he says, yeah, go ahead. Once he says, yeah, go ahead, then I have the green light to share. Now, Jerry has the choice of whether accepting that or rejecting it. And again, we have to avoid getting offended, because I think that's the quickest thing that happens in families. Would you agree with that, Jerry?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, it's really amazing. It's funny. I think along the lines of what you're saying, it's like our friends seem to be often a lot more thick-skinned than family members are. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe it's because we all are family. We all grew up together. We've all lived together. We all share so much in common, and we're so close to each other, not just physically, but in other ways. But yeah, I think it really is the case that family members can get very, very offended very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it happens all the time. And then once you get those hurt feelings, right, in the heart, it's very hard to enter in again, like at a Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving's coming up, folks, at a Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas, you start to bring those hurt feelings back into the event. And so let's talk about it. How can we remove those and really practice what we preach as Catholic Christians? My mother used to always say, everything that's bothering you, everything that's painful to you, offer it up. What exactly does that mean? Offer it up for what? We can start repairing with God right now through the difficult family relationships we have. So if you could call in and share some of the circumstances in your family, that would help us. 833-288-3986. Jer, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
So am I, and maybe, just maybe, you are seen as the difficult family member in your family. That's something we can talk about as well, but we do need you to join us. Make it another great show. Take Two Family at 833-288-3986. Phone lines are open for you right now.
October is dedicated to the Most Holy Rosary. EWTN Radio brings you the Holy Rosary at 5:30 a.m. Eastern with Mother Angelica and 9:30 p.m. Eastern with Father Benedict Rochelle, only on EWTN Radio.
This is Life Issues with Brad Mattis, president of Life Issues Institute.
For 5 years, William Hague of Spain has been praying outside an abortion center. He began with a warm hello to the abortionist that slowly grew into a friendship. The abortionist began showing women their ultrasounds and encouraging them to talk with the pro-lifers outside if they weren't sure about the abortion. William said he's less of an atheist than before we met. Now they even enjoy a meal together to discuss God and abortion. William added, loving abortionists is a spiritual checkmate. The number of weeks at which he says life begins is getting lower and lower. Along with William serving up love, there's a huge helping of prayer. I can call several former abortionists and abortion workers as dear friends, and they've become wonderful ambassadors for the babies.
Follow us on Twitter at Life Issues USA and stay informed, more informed than you've ever been.
At the Masterpiece Donut Shop, Rob Evans and Duncan the Donut help children explore the Mass step by step with fun songs and meaningful lessons. Visit EWTN.com/kids for more.
Phone number 833-288-3986. If you've just tuned in to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, we're having a conversation today about if we deal with and have relationships with difficult family members, we want to see those be as smooth and loving as possible. And I think we all have situations like this. So feel free to call in. We're not counselors. We're not therapists. We're not experts in, mending things like this. But we talk things through on this show. And we think that you come away with some good tools and resources. So please feel free to join the conversation. One line is still open at 833-288-3986, and EWTN Radio is available on smart speakers like Amazon Echo, Google Assistant, and others. For example, you can listen to EWTN Radio just by saying, Alexa, ask EWTN to play Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. So if you have any of those wonderful smart speakers, you can listen to Take Two and all the EWTN programming right there on those speakers.
We can grow in virtue through difficult family relationships, and it's very important. And in life coaching, we talk about this all the time. We're actually quite good at creating a plan to navigate those hard relationships. So just to say, if you'd like, I just want to say this, if you'd like a free consultation, you can always go to standtalltoday.com. That's standtalltoday.com. And we have a growing list of life coaches right there to help you with your relationships. The reason why I say that, I just got a message. One of our clients actually just said, you helped us with our family relationships. And that's true. We like to create a plan to move forward so you can have happy, healthy, fun relationships, right? So we have full phone lines. That's great. When a line becomes open, jump on it quickly, 833-288-3986. But we will go first to Isabelle. And Isabel's on Alexa listening in Houston, Texas. Hello, Isabelle.
Hello.
Hi, Isabelle.
Hi.
So what would you like to share today?
I would just like to share my difficult person in my life. Right now, it's my mom. Mm-hmm. Because I believe that she has narcissistic behavior, personality. Mm-hmm. So that is very difficult for me to be close to my mom, love her, and get hurt sometimes with her behavior.
Sure. So let me ask you a question, because I was just talking to one of my other clients the other day about this. Do you like this idea of labeling our family members? Because I've come to realize, Isabelle, that sometimes when we put a label on a person, we then put them in a box, and we just treat them as if, okay, so they fit all the characteristics of a narcissistic, sociopathic, pathological. We could do all the names that anyone wants to put in front of somebody else's personality or any type of disorder. Do you think it's helpful in your relationship? Because if for the work that I do in coaching, Isabelle, I find that we have to give people room to expand and grow. And if we approach it from a different angle, we can get different results. Has anybody explored that with you?
No. All the work that I've done and my sisters and I have done, it's at home, just reading books and just exploring our past and by ourselves, basically. But me finally putting that label on my mom has helped me to love her more, because I understand a lot of things now, and I stopped blaming her, and I stopped just being angry. It took me years to finally be able to say, oh, my mom could be a narcissist, because I don't know for sure. But now so for me, it does. It helps me love her more. But yes, because it's my mom, I don't know. It has helped me, but I understand what you're saying. Yes, that we just label people. We're not psychologists. We're just labeling people around us. Mm-hmm. But my relationship with my mom, yes, I think it has helped me.
Right. Okay. So in your case, it helped you to be more compassionate and understanding, because you were able to excuse her for some of her behavior. It could, because she's somehow compromised in some fashion, right? So in that case, it maybe has worked. Now, here's the thing that always gets me, and I was just talking to one of our clients yesterday about this. Do you know that Isabelle, do you know that almost all of us, if we put ourselves in any of these disorders and we try to pick out the characteristics, we could fit into almost anything, based on a situation. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of interesting. So, and if we're really honest with ourselves, and that's the funny thing about these labels, is I have such a problem with them, because in all honesty, maybe all of us are that way. Have you ever thought of that? And then we're just maybe maybe people are at different degrees of it. Have in the books that you've read, Isabelle, has that become clear?
It has become clear. And yes, I understand once you read something and you can go around and label a lot of people with that disorder. Mm-hmm. But I also have found, and this is true, that I've read and heard about psychologists, that children of victims of narcissist people, it's very hard. This is the first time me saying it out loud, and it is hard what you're telling me, because the pain is real and people do react like that. But maybe you're just labeling your mom. Oh, maybe you just, and
right.
I don't know why I called today,
right.
But it's just something in my heart. I just want to say it out loud, and I did for the first time.
Good.
And it's true that the reaction that we get, that, oh, maybe you're mom overreacting, or no, you're just labeling your mom the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let me share something with you. The pain and the labeling are two separate things. I completely understand and validate the pain that you are receiving from the relationship that you have with your mother. Absolutely, Isabelle. I'm just generally talking about how these disorders have become something that we use to each other instead of building on the relationship or healing from the relationship or forgiving and making the progress. We then stop at the label. Okay, so that's all I was trying to highlight. The pain that you're receiving, the pain that you've received in the past, the fact that you now can understand your mom better, because in your mom's case, she maybe fits the criteria for having some kind of disorder in her personality. I completely, affirm that in you, if that's the path that's going to bring you the most healing and the most peace. Okay, so you need to see, because our relationships, because they are so close and many times they're blood related. Okay, we're tied to these individuals. They can be very, very painful. But through the pain, Isabelle, we can learn to heal, forgive, and grow and get stronger, and the relationships get ultimately better. And I believe that's why God puts in front of us very difficult people, very difficult relationships, so that we have an element of growth. So I just want to affirm where you're at and know that I'm sending you virtual hugs, because your pain is real. Jerry?
Well, Isabelle, I can just add one quick thing. I think all that Debbie shared was really outstanding. I had a difficult relationship with my own mother as well. It wasn't necessarily because she was, maybe she was narcissistic. I don't know what I would label it, but she abused me emotionally. Okay, she abused me emotionally. I was the oldest boy, and she got a divorce, and then all of a sudden, here was Jerry, kind of elevated to a spousal role on an emotional level. And that took its toll on me. And over the years, as I became an adult, Isabelle, and later in life, as life went on, I experienced anger and resentment and things like this. But what the Lord really put on my heart was to pray for her and pray for our relationship and pray for an opportunity to talk about it. Because I think that is very important. My mother and I had a very tearful conversation one day, and our relationship was completely different after that. It didn't negate anything that went before that, but it was clear how God sovereignly opened the door for that conversation, because my mother asked for it. She says, I want to have a conversation with you about, kind of how our relationship has been going. So maybe just commit that to the Lord, Isabelle, and if it is His will and your desire, if you feel it would be helpful, maybe he can open such a door for you to talk with your mother about this.
Okay.
All right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Isabel. Stay
You're
in
in our
touch with
prayers,
us.
yeah.
Please stay in touch if you want to email anything. take2@EWTN.com, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. You're wonderful. No, I know it's tough, but the truth of it is, people's personalities, they can rub you the wrong way. And usually, I'm sure your mother, when you peeled back the layers of your mother's past, she had a very painful past. And and it's unfortunate it happens. I'm not giving anybody a pass or an excuse, but your mother came with a lot of hurts and probably wounds herself, and she put that on her children. Did she know she was doing that? Maybe not. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say? So you have to take that all into consideration. It's not just that your mother woke up one day and said, "I'm going to emotionally abuse Jerry." I don't think she did that. I think it's something came from her past.
I agree. I know some of her past, not all of it. And everything I just shared, I share as just simply matter-of-factly, not critically, not out of anger or hatred for my mom. We had a beautiful relationship really all of her life for the most part, except for some of these things that I mentioned. But especially after we had that conversation, it just really transformed our relationship and took it to a new level. So I agree with you. You've got to... Like you said, there are reasons why people do things, but there are not excuses for people doing things. So
That's
there are
right.
always underlying reasons. I agree. And
Right.
I'm the most selfish person I know, so I know a little bit about narcissism.
Well, and I think relationships can be better if we work, both sides and all parties work on it. If everyone just kind of takes a position, well, this person's like that, and this is why it's doing it. We don't really process through the emotions and the feelings, and so it kind of just stays sitting on the shelf. That's all I'm saying in a general sense. But again, Isabelle, we love you. Thank you so much for sharing your heart with us today, and to declare your feelings to the world. That's important to get those out there. Okay, Samantha just dropped in Houston, Texas. If you want to call back, please do so. We'll move to Patty in Green Bay, Wisconsin on the EWTN app. Hello, Patty.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
I'm
perfect.
Just
good.
fine. Mm-hmm.
So I called because I heard you say, with the holidays coming up, Thanksgiving especially, I have a situation that's developed in our family, and that is a couple of Sundays ago, my husband and I planned on going up north for a ride to see the colors, and we live 4 houses from my son and my daughter-in-law and my grandchild, who is 17. And every once in a while, we do this. I texted her and I said, "We got donuts." And usually they come over, and there was no response. And so we, did what we needed to do and went for our ride, and came back about 12 hours later, about 7:30. And I didn't hear from them all day. So I texted her again, and I said, "Are you guys okay?" And she wrote back and said, "I'm taking a step back from you and my husband because of the political situation, and we tend to be conservative and pro-life, and she is not. She's the other way. But we've never really talked about that. I've always coexisted with her thinking, just because she's my daughter-in-law. We've never really had a discussion. But so the following Saturday was our 40th wedding anniversary, and we had a mass and a dinner, and she didn't come to that. So I don't really know. I don't know how to handle the holidays coming up. Mm-hmm. I haven't approached her. I've just kind of let it settle, and my son hasn't contacted us. I did talk to him a little bit at the dinner. He sat right across from me at the dinner, and it was like the elephant in the room. He did say to my husband, he thinks, just let it settle and that we're overreacting, because really when that happened, we wanted to cancel the dinner and not, I don't know. We didn't. We continued with it. So I don't really know how to handle the situation. I don't know if I should contact or it's all about pro-life, and she doesn't like our views. It's not that we flaunt it. She just knows politically we vote pro-life, and she's just against our way of thinking and our lifestyle.
Is this your biological grandson? You said is in the home?
Yes.
Is this okay? So she's willing to let go of the grandparents and disconnect from a relationship with her son over a political difference.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, and you've never had a argument, a fight, a debate, anything about it?
Never.
Okay, if you can hang on, Patty, I definitely have things to share with this. I would say a fourth of my clients came to me when we had the elections a couple years ago because of this exact same reason. So I can share with you a couple of thoughts from a life coaching perspective. And if you don't have a counselor, then you may want to think about getting one because it doesn't always get better. I can tell you that. So we'll talk about it. Hang on, Patty. Jerry, what do you think?
Well, I'm looking forward to what you have to share with Patty, and we've got Mary Beth and Christina and David as well, and a phone line open, 833-288-3986.
Call to Communion.
Masked Appeal.
EWTN Live.
Catholic Connection. No one does Catholic radio like EWTN.
Coming up later today on Cresta in the Afternoon.
Our topics during Cresta in the Afternoon toggle between church teaching and then using that teaching to shine a light on our world. We'll look at Christ in culture, church and world, religion and public life, from abortion to Zechariah and everything in between. Biblical criticism, Hollywood productions, academic debate, family and love, prayer and spirituality.
Cresta in the Afternoon, later today on EWTN Radio.
This is Father Wade Menezes of the Fathers of Mercy. Let us pray for an end to abortion. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Most Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, you have made every human person in your image and likeness. You have called us to love and to be loved. We pray for an end to abortion, so that every human person may come to the fullness of life and live the life you will for them in your supreme and all-knowing goodness. Help each one of us to be committed to the gospel of life in a hurting world that so much needs to know and experience your love for the unborn who are unwanted. We pray too for mothers and fathers who are fearful of an unplanned pregnancy, that they may choose life and bring their baby to term. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Hi, this is Dr. David Anders. Are you curious about the Catholic faith and need answers? Call to Communion is the show for you. Today at 2 p.m. Eastern. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We are talking with you today about difficult family members on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 833-288-3986. Thanks to Matt Gabensky, our call screener. Ace McKay is our producer. Jeff Burson is on social media. If you're watching the video stream on Facebook or YouTube, you can post your comments there, and Jeff will try to get some of those over to us. And we are in the middle of a conversation with Patty in Green Bay, Wisconsin, about her daughter-in-law, who is very staunchly pro-abortion, and it has caused quite a bit of stress and strain within their relationship. Debbie, you had some things you wanted to share.
So, Patty, thank you for holding on. And these are just some thoughts and some suggestions. Take it to prayer. Talk to your husband. I would definitely seek out a Catholic counselor or a coach or somebody that can kind of navigate these waters with you. Here's the thing. Your son, I'm not trying to make any assessments or judgments right on the air, but you just based on what you said, it sounds like your son wants to kind of have this just kind of go away and get past, and so that he can get back to having relationships with his parents and have the family dynamics happen. Okay, that's not necessarily, it's not that is not going to necessarily solve the situation. This would be just a suggestion when the temperature is very calm, when it's very peaceful, there's no elevated emotions or any type of disagreement or argument happening prior to this. I would, if it were me, I would schedule a lunch for you and your daughter-in-law. And I would say, can you come out to lunch with me? And here's what I would like to do. Tell her right up front. I would like to hear your absolute thoughts, position, feelings, everything about the political issues that you seem to think we have that is very different, that is going to butt heads, and that it's so much so that you need to step back from a relationship that's a very good relationship, but for some reason you feel the need to step back. And saying, all I ask is that I would just love to just share with you my personal thoughts. And then I would love for us to make an agreement that this never comes between us as family members, because I love you. You're my daughter-in-law. I love my family. I want us to be a family. We can have differences as long as we understand where our come-froms are. Let me just share this, Patty. I was in my former marriage. I was married for 20 years to his family was Jewish. His family's Jewish. All of them, extended family, all Jewish. Some very, very liberal. They knew exactly where I stood. It never came between us. Never, ever, ever. Even at, Hanukkah and all sorts of celebrations, it never came between us because we understood and we respected our differences, but we wouldn't let it come. It wouldn't divide the family. Is that something possibly you've thought of, Patty, and maybe you could pray about and think about doing eventually?
Yes, absolutely. I've always thought, a believer in coexisting, and she's not practicing that.
Right, but here's the thing: when she made the statement, "I'm going to step back," she already made the decision, Patty, that she needs to pull back for some reason. Most people do that because there's a fear there. They're seeing that your guys are somehow going to be a threat to her and what she wants. Now, maybe she's coming with her own woundedness and she's got her own past about it. That's something maybe if she feels comfortable enough, you need to hear and affirm, just like I affirmed Isabelle in her pain that she is experiencing with her mother. That's real. Whatever pain they're bringing into the relationship, it's very real to them. So the sooner we figure out where people are coming from, the better off we can go forward and not let it affect us. Now, and you can even put that out there at your lunch. You can say to your daughter-in-law, do you think I'm some kind of threat? Do you think I'm going to try to convince you or something? Because if you do, that's not my place. I'm just living out what I know to be true and right with God. I'm not trying to, you have your own free will, just like God gives you your own free will. Okay. We can't coerce or convince anybody. We can just live out the best, Christian life we possibly can. I wouldn't wait too much longer, Patty. You're coming up on the holidays, and the fact that there's no response and nothing really from your son and from you guys actually can confirm her position. She actually she'll say, see, nobody's saying anything to me, so I must have done the right decision. Must have made the right decision. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Patty, we'll be praying with you and for you for the situation as well. I think if some of these things that Debbie has recommended and suggested, if these do come to pass, I think it could be a very healing experience with you and your daughter-in-law. It could really open up a totally brand new, beautiful relationship. And I agree with what Debbie said. She may have some kind of history with this issue. We don't know. You probably don't know, and it's not important in terms of mending this relationship. But I think it really could turn things around for you a lot. At least that there would be some interaction. There wouldn't be this kind of the silent treatment, and you'd still be involved in the life of your grandson and so forth.
Okay. Real good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Keep us posted, Patty. You can always email us, take2@EWTN.com. Okay? We'll be praying.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. We had other folks that have dropped. Samantha and a couple others. I think maybe we stated some of the things you were going to share, and so that's great. But you can always call back because we were kind of leaving those phone lines open for you if you'd like to call back quickly. 833-288-3986. Or if anyone else has some suggestions, some good tips, tools, techniques to deal with difficult family members, we'd like to hear them. Okay, so 833-288-3986.
David, hold on there in Minnesota. You are right after Mary Beth, who is in Marietta, Ohio, listening to us today on Alexa. Hi, Mary Beth. How are you?
Hi. Hello. I'm doing just fine. I have a quick comment, but I thought the topic was dealing with difficult people, managing those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Is
yes.
that right?
Hi, Mary Beth. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Go right ahead.
Okay. One time, all 5 of us siblings, and we're all stair-stepped, we are all Catholic, and we went to a counselor, and the topic was boundaries. And she said that all we simply have to say to each other is a one-liner so that we don't make it a bigger deal. But if we felt like someone was getting too personal or pushing our buttons, that we just simply say, thanks, but no thanks. And then the other person gets the idea. and it does work.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. That is a great technique, Mary Beth. And let me just share something with you. You have to get everybody to agree on that, because if like, for instance, if we didn't pre-plan that, and I was your sister, Mary Beth, and you said thanks but no thanks, it could really hurt somebody or offend somebody. So if everybody agrees to that, absolutely, that is wonderful. As long as and I said that at the beginning of the show. The idea is, see, family tends to hurt each other very easily. And so the offenses build up. It's very similar to how we relate to God when you think about it. We offend God on a regular basis, right? And we just kind of, in the back of our mind, we're hoping and praying and expecting him to still take it because God is love. And so God's never going to abandon us. And it's a very similar situation in families. And that's why I think it's so important that we figure out a way to work on these relationships, make the best out of them, and grow from it in holiness, because it's only going to elevate us with our relationship with God. What do you think about that, Mary Beth?
Is maybe that we all had agreement ahead of time. So at any time we could talk to someone, not in that fiery moment, but just say, hey, sometimes my feelings get hurt if you offer what it seems like too much advice to me. So if I say this is how I'm feeling. We could do that maybe when it wasn't happening and kind of have that agreement in advance. But yeah, it is easy to take people for granted that family, they know our buttons, what to push, but also we might assume they're always going to be there. Right. Just like we always, of course, assume God, who is always there for us. But it's easy to take some relationships for granted.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that is spot on, Mary Beth, and we all do it. And as Debbie was talking, even our relationship with God. But you talked about how they know those buttons to push, and sometimes they may be pushing buttons that they don't even know that they're pushing buttons. But I believe what you shared about the boundaries too, and sort of getting everybody's buy-in on this. I think it can help to keep the peace in relationships. It sounds like it's worked really well for you and your siblings, and I think that's a great example that you have shared with our listeners today.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure enough.
Thank you, Mary Beth. You are awesome. Okay, we have open phone lines. If you'd like to jump in and talk about difficult relationships, this is the time to call in at 833-288-3986. We're talking about how to really work on our relationships and make them the best they can be. I have always recommended, the Pop Checks do an amazing job with Catholic counselors, and I think it would benefit a lot of people to go to a counselor or a therapist or a coach before the situation gets too advanced. Because I think when people get stuck in their positions, it's much harder to move them. Sometimes they say, let time pass, let things settle down. And that can work, But in this day and age where everything is the emotions are very heightened, and everybody's kind of leading with their emotions instead of, logically processing things out. It doesn't always work that way, Jerry. I think sometimes settling things very quickly can be beneficial in a family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Bible even talks about that, that parable of, settling with your brother or sister on the way to court, so it doesn't have to get out of hand. But, for me, one of the saddest things that I've ever, not experienced, but known to have happen in life is family members that don't get along. And I say that, as someone, I'm super blessed. I've got, my sister passed away, but my three brothers remain, and we are all pretty much on the same page in just about everything. A couple of them maybe aren't where they need to be with the church and so forth. But it's just really sad, because family is the closest unit that we have. It's the core unit of society. And to see stresses and strains, and of course all kinds of different things that cause those relationships to not be healthy as we would want them to be. So, it just saddens me to see family members that are at odds with each other.
Right. Well, and the other thing too is, and I think it's healthy to say this at this point. You can love your family members from a distance. You don't have to be in their day-to-day life. You don't have to be involved and have a key to their home, and you just pop in anytime you feel like it. You can love your family members from a distance. You can pray for your family members from a distance. You can do that, and that's very important and effective for the ultimate goal of their spiritual lives and where their destination place is. It's very important. And like Ace just typed over right now, our producer, he says you can agree to disagree. And that is true. We've lost that art though, Ace, I will tell you, the agree to disagree. You just look at what's happening with all of our political leaders. There's not much of that happening. Everybody's kind of doubling down and holding on to their position and not really wanting to talk and grow. But I say we do get back to that art of agreeing to disagree. It's much healthier.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go back to the phones, 833-288-3986. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, your show, talking about how we deal with or handle difficult family members. Colin is listening in Rockwell, Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Colin. Thanks for calling in.
Hi, how's it going?
All right. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I just wanted to offer a tip regarding difficult family members. So I have an older brother who's always kind of been a real hothead. When I was younger, he broke my nose over a board game at Thanksgiving and kind of ruined everybody's holidays, certainly mine. And that was about 15 years ago, and I've forgiven him for that. But every now and then, we'll get into a heated argument, and he'll bring that back up, like, "Hey, be careful! I'll break your nose again." And you get this swelling. At least me, I get this, initial, just you feel the darkness inside of you, wanting to overcome. I really want to get him back for that, for what he did to me. But I just remember Christ's words to turn the other cheek, and that really helps me, because what it does is it's not a, oh, you can't defend yourself. It's not an effeminate, defense of Christ or anything like that. What it does is it strips that person of their power, because the only thing they have over you is their might, and they're kind of using a might as right. Like, I'm stronger than you, and I'm going to exert my will and dominance over you. And if you say that's fine, then it strips them of all that power that they have over you, and they have nothing left. So that's kind of how I deal with individuals like that.
Mm-hmm. So, Colin, what's your brother's problem? Is he a bully?
I would say, well, our father died when we were really young. He was 14, I was 5, and he's just always, I think he's always thought that he's had to be the father.
So
figure.
Is he angry? Is he angry?
Yeah, very angry. Has alcohol, or had alcohol problems. He's been sober now, but just very, whenever you disagree with him about something, even if it's very rational, very logical, very respectful, he takes it to a whole nother level, and he gets really upset and lashes out.
Have you been to any type of counseling for this? Because, if you take your brother with you, not physically, but just, the idea of the relationship you have with your brother into a counseling session, they will explore all of this, where the anger comes from. Or have you read any books on this about, obviously your brother has a fear that is underlying. There's a spirit of anger. There's a spirit of fear. Those are not of God. And so you pretty much can predict the outcome of an interaction with your brother, because when it's not of God, it's not. So the best way for you to conduct yourself is the way you're doing it, is to keep your peace. Don't give away your peace. Don't give away your joy. Don't play into that, because once you play into an anger or fear, you've now dragged yourself down. Have you noticed that?
Yes, exactly right. And I have fallen trapped that many, many times. I'm glad you brought that up. It's really the last probably 3 or 4 years that I've kind of, reverted into my faith and found more of my faith, and I've been able to deal with these situations better, where I can when I feel that urge to get him back or want to, win the argument or, whatnot, I can find inner peace, because I know that that's coming from somewhere that's not of God.
Right.
And I have been looking. I've been listening to Dr. Ray, and I have been kind of looking into a little more on the counseling side of things. I don't think that him and I are necessarily at that point yet, but hopefully someday we could be.
Yeah. And here's the thing, and that's great. So you're looking into the counseling thing, and that's fabulous for you to get the tools to really work on this relationship. That's wonderful. A couple things I just wanted to say. It's the anger when somebody is when they're very angry and they have that fear that's playing in, and fear is very strong. It can go one of two ways. Sometimes they want to be loved, and sometimes they want to push the person away. So you can probably gauge, because you know your brother, right, very well, at the times when you can approach him, and at the times when you just need to excuse yourself and say, hey, it's time for me to go home now. I think I'm going to go. Bye, everyone. I love you. And you leave. Okay, so you know that. And remember, limited time, past 30 minutes, past 45 minutes when we're interacting with our siblings, a lot of times it goes south from there. Why? Because people get a little too comfortable, or they start drinking, or they start, and all sorts of things start to happen. But Colin, I don't know here's just a little suggestion in the meantime, before you get a secure some kind of counseling direction. Here's just a little suggestion. When your brother's displaying this like rigid kind of anger, spewing from him, and you're with him, you may want to, think about this and just it's got to be very genuine, though, because if he picks up that there's any type of sarcasm or anything with it, it's not going to feel real. But maybe you could say to him, I don't know if you've ever said this, may I just give you a hug? I want to give my brother a hug right now. Have you ever thought about that?
I don't think so. Not that I shouldn't say that I haven't wanted to hug him. I've never thought of actually saying that to him.
Yeah, you ask permission.
Mostly because I just don't know exactly how that would go down. Right.
So you have to gauge it, because you'll know your brother better than anyone, okay? But you have to gauge it. But let's say he's just kind of just spewing things and he's just going around and around. You may, if it's a calm situation, if it's not like heightened with yelling and everything, and alcohol is playing a factor or anything like that, then you could just say, I really have the desire to give you a hug right now, to my big brother. Can I give you a hug? If he says no, say, okay, maybe next time. But maybe he might say yes. The interesting thing about people with anger and fear, there's really a very little child behind that, in my opinion. There's a little child behind that, Colin. Do you ever see that little boy in your brother?
Yes, very much so. And I've always my father died in a very sudden, traumatic death that we all witnessed. And I've heard people say, I don't know if there's truth to this, but I've heard people say that when a child witnesses a very traumatic event, that they're kind of stuck in that, they can become stuck in that personality or that temperament, and they have trouble growing out of it. But I don't know if there's any truth to that. I've just heard people tell me that.
I've read the same. I've read the same thing in the work that I do. So yeah, and that's what you might want to take to your counselor and really get some help with that, because I really think your brother deserves to let that go. You know, anger and fear and the things that he's doing. Even though he mastered, I think you said, the drinking and everything, and that's wonderful. But it's not healthy for him. It's gonna take a toll on him. You can't really. You live with anger your whole life, you're gonna get sick. I mean, it just starts to create disease. So I would love for him to be free of that. You sound like you're on a great path.
I'm trying. I got 3 daughters, so I was kind of late to the game. And I was like, I got to get my stuff together. So I've been trying.
Well, you're a good man, Colin. Thanks for calling in the show. I think that all that Debbie shared, I echo completely. You'll be in our prayers. Your brother will be in our prayers, and we will certainly just ask the Lord to bring about beautiful things in your sibling relationship. Thank you, Colin, for being with us on the program. Real quickly, EWTN News in Depth with Monse Alvarado, Friday night, 8 Eastern Time on EWTN Radio and Television. And this week, they explore the role of the Catechism in the Catholic Church and the role it plays in the lives of Catholics today on its 30th anniversary. Plus, they're exploring the battleground states for governors and major ballot initiatives as the 2022 midterms elections come near. That's EWTN News in Depth with Monse Alvarado, Friday night, 8 Eastern on many of these same EWTN stations.
And Colin, if you're still listening, I put your whole family in our prayer book, and we're so sorry of that tragic loss of your dad and what you had to experience as children. That's a lot to handle for little kids, and we're sorry about that. But we put you in the book and your whole family. Okay, Joy is up next in San Antonio, Texas, on our friends at Guadalupe Radio Network. Hello, Joy.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. I have a difficult problem with a daughter-in-law, and I've just been listening. Your previous caller talked about surrender prayer. I've had this problem about not even being able to visit with my grandchildren unless my son brings them over, which is maybe like once or twice a month, and I live 10 minutes away. The wife has severe anxiety problems, and just lately I have asked to see if I could get pictures or maybe even just FaceTime with the grandkids, because they're at the age, they're toddlers, and if I can't see them as often or be around them, at least I could try to build a relationship via phone without having to be there, because she's very anxious. And when she heard that, because I was texting my son, she got upset. And apparently I find out that my son allows her to go through his phone and text, and she questions him. I was trying to get my son to even do this, because once in a while she takes the kids out to the park, and it's just him and the children. What would stop him from trying to say hello to grandma or send a picture or two? And even that has not happened in 2 years.
Okay, so Joy, let me just stop you right there, because we're going to run out of time. And if you want to email us, you feel free to do so. take2@ewtn.com. Can't really solve this whole situation right now in less than 90 seconds, but real quickly, let me just share something. Just even you corresponding with your husband and I mean her husband, your son, you corresponding with your son, and she gets to read it. She already feels like the outsider. Okay, she is his wife. So the best thing you can do is find trained professionals, or even if you feel you can do it yourself, is to really start to develop a relationship with her, because she is the one who is definitely making some of the decisions. And if she knows your heart, that you love her, you love the kids, and you want a relationship, maybe you could soften that heart of hers. So there's more to say about this. We're not going to get to it. Maybe we could cover a little bit more on Unscripted if you want to call back on Friday, Joy. But we'll be praying. I put you in the book. And Michelle and Cecilia and the others, we're not going to get to you today. We'll revisit this, Jerry, because I think it's a very important topic about family members and how to really work on our relationships.
Yeah, well, great job, Debbie. Your life coaching background came out in living color today on the program. We want to thank the show team, affiliates, for carrying the program. Tomorrow, give us your best clean joke. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. St. Joseph, pray for us.